Hey bro, how we doing? Hope everything's chill. This was one of those small but important hot fixes that doesn't rearrange the meta overnight, but it definitely cleans up a few things that were messing with matchmaking, custom loadouts, and the zombies map that people have been exploiting. First thing I noticed when I read the notes and hopped in, the quick play playlist filter bug got fixed. If you'd ever dismissed the after action report and then kept queuing, there was a weird situation where the game could invert your selected modes. Basically, you thought you were queuing for certain types of matches, and the game might shove you into something else. That's an annoying quality of life problem that screws with the flow of a session, especially when you've got a party of friends with different mode preferences, or you're trying to grind a specific challenge. The fix is the kind of thing that won't make headlines, but it absolutely reduces those tiny moments where the game feels like it's working against you instead of for you. Another strangely specific but surprisingly impactful fix, players using Spanish as their in-game language were having trouble creating custom loadouts 6 to 10. That is, if your game language was set to Spanish, the UI or backend was blocking those extra loadouts, which is a real problem for players who like to have bundles of presets for different maps, roles, or challenge runs. The hotfix addresses that, so everyone can make the full set of loadouts again without having to switch language settings or juggle gear mid-session. It's the kind of localization bug that slips past testing, but hits a tangible portion of the player base, and it's good to see it patched quickly. Now, the zombies side got a clean but crucial bit of attention. On the Ashes of the Damned map, they closed multiple exploits that allowed players to avoid enemy targeting. If you've been running zombies and noticed spots where enemies just don't aggro properly, or you could kite infinitely from a corner, that's the class of exploit they patched. Those holes are a big deal for the integrity of the mode. They let speedrunners, challenge grinders, or anyone trying to cheese high rounds bypass the design of the encounters. Patching those exploits means the map plays more like the designers intended, and while some players who use the glitches to farm XP or rewards might be salty, the consequence is a much cleaner, fairer experience for everyone else. Beyond those headline items, the update contained various crash and stability fixes across multiplayer, zombies, and co-op. The official notes mentioned general crash fixes, and community write-ups echoed that a few platform-specific client issues were addressed. If you'd been seeing random CTDs, matchmaking errors, or mission softlocks in certain campaigns' co-op missions, this small client-side hotfix seems to target a subset of those problems and smooth out some rough edges. Those fixes rarely sound sexy, but they cut down on wasted time and frustrated restarts, which is huge when you're trying to finish a long session or record footage for content. What's also interesting is how this patch fits into the larger early post-launch rhythm. The launch window already included bigger tuning changes, aim assist adjustments, movement and score streak balancing, weapon tuning, and XP earn rate updates. And this November 16 hotfix is explicitly focused on targeted issues that came up once a much larger player base hit the servers. In practice, that means if you're feeling like certain aim assist quirks or weapon numbers are different from the beta, those are part of the larger launch tuning, not this hotfix. This one was for the immediate, practical stuff that breaks the flow. Playlists, loadouts, exploits, and stability. Okay, let me paint a picture of how these changes affect a session. Imagine you and 3 mates queue up for quick play. You select a rotation that favors objective modes, you dismiss the post-match screen, thinking the next match will honor your choice, and boom. The server queues you into a deathmatch variant because the selection inverted. That's enough to tilt the vibe of the lobby. Fixing that means less time apologizing and more time actually playing what you wanted to play. On the zombies front, if you're a streamer or creator, those exploit closures change how you plan runs. Any tutorial or game plan that relied on a glitch now needs adjustment, but that also means viewers get a more authentic run instead of a cheese highlight reel. For content creators, stability fixes are a blessing because fewer crashes mean fewer ruined takes and fewer lost clips. A few meta thoughts while we're here. The way devs are rolling these fixes says a bit about priorities. Fixing things that break matchmaking and permanence of loadouts signals that the team is trying to reduce friction for daily play. Closing exploit holes on a new zombies map tells me they're monitoring the mode closely, either via telemetry, internal testing, or community reports, and taking action fast. And the stability work reads as a pragmatic triage. If a small set of issues is creating a loud complaint thread on social platforms or causing widespread session instability, the devs are pushing these hotfixes to stop the bleed. It's not sexy, but it's effective. If you're the kind of player who likes to parse patch notes for hints about what might be tweaked next, this fix list doesn't scream an incoming gameplay overhaul. Instead, it signals a period of housekeeping, cleaning up localization and UI bugs, closing exploitable geometry or AI handling issues, and shoring up reliability. Those are the things that, over a few weeks, add up to a better live service product because they reduce user friction and build confidence that the developers are responsive. The bigger, more interesting balance changes, the aim assist adjustments, movement permissiveness, score streak numbers, or weapon stat shifts, are the things that actually move the needle on competitive balance, and those were part of the larger patch cycle around launch, rather than this hotfix. One other practical thing to mention, whenever exploit closures happen, expect a small ripple of community reaction. Players who discovered or made use of glitch spots will share videos and call the patch out as nerfing creativity, while others will applaud the move toward fairness. Both takes are predictable and both are part of the ecosystem. From a creator's perspective, the sweet spot is to acknowledge the patch, show how runs or strategies change post-fix, and pivot your content to new, legitimate routes, or highlight emergent strategies that are fun and repeatable. But since you asked for no follow-up suggestions in the script, I'll leave it at that observation and not go into content pivot strategies. Technical bits worth flagging inside the flow of a match. Custom loadout issues tied to language settings can have knock-on effects for players who use language-specific UI to access tactical options quickly during loadout drops or match transitions. If your game was set to Spanish and you were missing slots 6 to 10, that effectively reduced your slot bet options by half for some players, which changes the calculus for mid-round adjustments. Now that's fixed, your presets will be stable across languages, which is nice for competitive play or those who rotate roles mid-session. Zombies exploit fixes are one more place where the developer notes use language like closed multiple exploits, which usually means they fixed several geometry or AI pathing situations rather than a single bug. That can sometimes affect speedrunning routes or corner kiting strategies in ways that feel heavy-handed if you relied on them. But again, from the perspective of a balanced long-term mode, it's healthier. Expect map flow and enemy engagement to behave more consistently after these fixes, which is exactly the intent. On stability, the notes talk broadly about crash fixes across modes. That's intentionally vague in many patch notes because stability work often touches numerous platform-specific subsystems and can't always be distilled into a single line item for every affected scenario. What's important is the practical outcome: fewer mid-match crashes, fewer matchmaking failures, and fewer strange UI edge cases. For folks recording long sessions or trying to chain co-op missions, that's the real win. All right, wrapping this up in the same tone I started with. This November 16 hotfix is the kind of real-world maintenance that makes daily play smoother. It's not changing the way you pull the trigger or how a particular gun behaves in a gunfight, but it clears out a handful of friction points that would otherwise add up to a lot of small frustrations. Fixes to quick play behavior, localized loadout creation, exploit closures on Ashes of the Damned, and stability improvements all add up to a tidier experience that respects player time and matchmaking expectations. That's the breakdown. Straight, no extra fluff, just the parts of the patch that actually affect your sessions and the reasons behind them. And all.